Not every success looks like a trophy. Sometimes it looks like a crooked bowl, or a cracked cup, or that wobbly vase you made and still kept because, hey, it stood up. Welcome to Sculpting Success. Pieces of advice, a video about how shaping clay can teach us what success really means. That is showing up, staying soft through pressure, and celebrating progress, not perfection. As always, I'll be drawing from two soulful books along the way, Artful Journey of Pottery and Pottery Florilege. You'll find the links to both down in the description if you want to explore them after the video. So let's go. Part 1. Ugly Beginnings, Beautiful Outcomes. Success stories usually start with a highlight reel. Perfect results, proud moments, tidy victories. But if you've ever worked with clay, you know that's not how real success begins. Most pots don't start beautiful. They start awkward, wobbly, heavy in the wrong places. Sometimes they slump. Sometimes they tear. Sometimes they look like an accident no one wants to take credit for. And yet, that's exactly where something important is happening. In the ugliness of beginning, we make space for something to evolve. In Artful Journey of Pottery, there's a quote that captures this beautifully. The early stages of forming are not graceful, they are gestures of hope, repeated until shape begins to hold. That line speaks volumes. Because when you first sit at the wheel or need a fresh ball of clay, what you're doing isn't just technical, it's emotional, it's vulnerable. It's admitting, I don't fully know what I'm doing, but I'm willing to try. That willingness, that's the seed of success. In pottery, we learn quickly that the early stages are not supposed to be polished. They're meant to be exploratory. You adjust your grip. You lean a little more to the left. You add water, then take it away. And slowly, the shape comes forward, not because you forced it, but because you stayed long enough to listen to it. It's the same in life. When we start anything new, a job, a dream, a relationship, a new identity, we're not meant to get it right on day one. We're meant to get it real. To begin. To let it be a little messy and lopsided at first. Because success doesn't come from skipping the ugly parts. It comes from trusting that something good is forming underneath the mess. So the next time you're tempted to give up because something looks rough or uncertain, remember the clay. It never starts beautiful, but if you stay with it, it becomes beautiful through care, through process, and through patience. And that's not just a pottery lesson, that's a blueprint for resilience. Part 2. Your mistakes are proof you tried. We talk a lot about learning from mistakes, but deep down, most of us still fear them. We treat them like stains on our story, proof that we weren't good enough, smart enough, careful enough. But pottery flips that narrative. In the studio, mistakes aren't shameful, they're expected. They're baked into the process, literally and figuratively. Sometimes the glaze drips. Sometimes the walls collapse. Sometimes a perfectly centered piece breaks in the kiln for no obvious reason, and still the potter returns. Not because the mistakes don't matter, but because they mean you showed up. You took the risk, you tried. Every warped bowl, every uneven rim, every cracked lid tells a story, not of failure, but of effort. That's where success starts, not with flawless outcomes, but with the courage to begin, to fail a little, and to keep shaping anyway. Even outside the studio, Pottery Florilege reminds us of this principle. You're not judged for staying in the lines. You're not scored for choosing the right color. You simply pick a shape, begin to color, and trust the process. And here's the beautiful part. Even if you make a choice you regret, too dark, too bright, too off balance, it still adds character. It still makes the page yours. Because real creativity, real success, isn't about never messing up. It's about giving yourself the space to explore without demanding perfection from the first stroke. Your mistakes become part of the journey. They reveal what didn't work so you can get closer to what does. They are proof you were in motion, not stuck in fear. So the next time you catch yourself saying, "I shouldn't have done that," try replacing it with, "I'm learning that was part of it." Because whether you're coloring, sculpting, or simply navigating life, mistakes mean movement. And movement is always better than regret without action. In pottery and in life, your imperfect work is still worthy. And often, it's the most honest, human part of your story. Quick pause. If this message is resonating with you, go ahead and like the video, leave a comment, and subscribe. I'd love to know, what mistake are you grateful for now? Let's continue. Part 3. The power of repetition. If there's one thing pottery teaches without saying a word, it's this. Repetition isn't boring. It's where mastery begins. You throw the same form over and over again. A dozen bowls, 20 mugs, you practice the same hand position. You center, pull, collapse. Start again, repeat. At first, it feels like you're going in circles, but slowly, quietly, your body starts to remember. Your hands begin to anticipate what's next. Your breath syncs with the clay. This is the hidden truth behind all success stories. It doesn't come from a big breakthrough. It comes from small repetitions, done with intention. There's a beautiful moment in Artful Journey of Pottery. Not a direct quote, but a sentiment that runs through the early chapters on forming and rhythm, where the idea becomes clear. Pottery isn't built in sudden leaps, but in steady returns to the same gesture. That's how form takes root in your body. You don't need to reinvent yourself every day. You need to return to the practice, to the rhythm, to the same simple movements that slowly shape not just the clay, but your confidence. And this is true far beyond the wheel. If you're trying to build a creative habit, a routine, or a new way of showing up in the world, repetition is your ally. Even in Pottery Florilege, that rhythm appears. Each coloring session might look similar on the surface, same lines, same forms, but over time, your style evolves. Your eye changes. What once felt mechanical becomes meditative. And that's where growth happens, not in doing it perfectly, but in doing it again. Repetition is what strengthens your voice, what builds your skill, what deepens your relationship with your craft, your body, yourself. So the next time it feels like you're repeating the same step for the 100th time, don't resist it. Embrace it, because you're not stuck. You're shaping something solid, one quiet return at a time. Part 4. What your work says about you. People often ask, how do you define success? Is it recognition, perfection, profit? But pottery offers a quieter answer. Your work says something about you, even when you're not trying to say anything at all. Every bowl, every coloring page, every form carries fingerprints, literal and emotional. A slight curve where you hesitated, a bolder line where you trusted yourself, a crooked handle that shows where you improvised instead of giving up. That's what makes handmade work so honest. It doesn't just show skill, it reveals character. In Artful Journey of Pottery, this idea is woven throughout the reflections on process and legacy. Each piece is a record of presence, not just what was made, but who the maker was while making it. And once you realize that, the way you create changes. You stop trying to impress. You start asking, what mood was I in when I shaped this? What mindset led to this outcome? What part of myself shows up in this surface, this curve, this softness? Your work becomes a kind of mirror. And in that mirror, you don't just see what you've produced, you see who you're becoming. Even in Pottery Florilege, where you're coloring existing forms rather than shaping new ones, the same truth applies. You can give 10 people the same coloring page, and no two will come out the same, because what you choose, your pace, your palette, your pressure, says something about how you feel, what you're drawn to, and what kind of beauty you value. There's no right result, only your result, and that is meaningful. When you create consistently, even in small ways, you begin to build a quiet legacy, not just of finished pieces, but of effort, of rhythm, of presence. And when you look back, you'll see that success wasn't a finish line, it was in the shaping, in the process of showing up with your whole self again and again. So whether you're glazing pottery, trimming a rim, or coloring the final details of a page, ask yourself, what does this piece say about who I am today? And remember, every mark you leave is part of a story worth telling. We shape the clay, but in the doing, the clay reshapes us. Artful journey of pottery. If this video encouraged you, go ahead and like it, leave a comment, and subscribe. Tell me in the comments, what's one success you've sculpted quietly, just for yourself? And don't forget, both Artful Journey of Pottery and Pottery Florilege are linked in the description below if you want to explore more. In the next video, we will deep dive even more in the art of mess and why it's crucial to embrace imperfection in pottery and life. Until next time, keep showing up, keep shaping, and remember, the process is the piece. Bye.